All right, whilst we get the technical bits ready, I want to start with a story. Does anyone know who this guy is? His name is Buckminster Fuller, and he had a belief many, many years ago that he could make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone. He launched a challenge to try and find innovators around the world who could deliver upon this. So this guy got me thinking about why I exist on this world and what my role is during our short lives. Yeah, my short life too. So this is the world, this is our home. And there's only one Earth, and it has limited resources. But there are more and more people living on this very limited spaceship, I guess. We are traveling through space. We're all astronauts in that way, and the spacecraft that we're traveling on has only just enough space for a limited number of people. Now, we're almost 9 billion in this world, and it's not stopping. And we take a lot more than we give as human beings. In fact, we're one of the most destructive species that has ever existed on this earth. So this is me, and I have a very big, lofty, or what we say when I talk to the social entrepreneurs that we work with, my big, hairy, ambitious goal, or goals, is that there is no poverty in this world, and everybody gets to enjoy good health and well-being. Health, because I'm slightly biased. I am a medical doctor, and I started my journey on this earth as a surgeon. I used to work in the UK as a plastic and reconstructive surgeon. And during the eight years or so that I was working in the NHS, I realized that here we have a system that was set up to create good in society, the National Health Service. But even that big system in the UK was not able to deliver upon the vision of the creators. So I thought I wanted to create a health system. That was where I started. I wanted to create a health system that could give healthcare to everybody, universal access to healthcare for everybody, and that the people working within that health system would be happy themselves. So I discovered that the only way to really do this was to start your own little system. And that was what I did. And it took me back to Kuala Lumpur. Does anyone here know where KL is? It's just south of here, yes. So Kuala Lumpur is where I went to school. It's not where I was born, but it's where I went to school. And as you can see from the image here, it's a country, or a city, sorry, with many juxtapositions, yeah? You have the really high-rise buildings, there are a lot of wealth concentrated there, but then you have this, houses with zinc rooftops, very poor area. I looked out of this hotel, this Centara building, and I saw many such buildings too. So, urban poverty exists very much. It's just how much we want to see it. So anyway, I went back to Kuala Lumpur and I decided to take on one of the biggest challenges that Malaysia faced. Again, big, hairy, ambitious goal and a bit of an ambitious person. I wanted to address how drug users are treated in Malaysia, because I felt that it was a healthcare problem, that they were not treated as patients, they were treated as criminals. They were arrested for using drugs and kept in a compulsory detention center for 2 years with no access to medicine and no human rights. So I wanted to change that, because concurrent to that problem was also the rise in HIV/AIDS. because of injecting drug use. So that was where my own journey started in trying to connect to my purpose for being and achieving the goals that I have in life. And this is, in a way, what has driven me for the last 10 years, and also what has connected me to other individuals who do share the same purpose and passion in life and strive towards serving others. So now, after 3 years of working with them, we actually use design quite a lot in our work. And this is, I don't know why, but we just got attracted to actually really working with the principles of design. I studied design too after medical school for about 1.5 years. But the nice thing about design is, you know, when you buy something off of a shelf, someone has put a lot of thought into that product. Or even when you go to the bank and go and see a cashier at, you know, the desk, someone has put a lot of thought into that service that, you know, the service journey you're going through. So why not apply those same principles in how you're designing, how impact is going to be created in society, especially when you have to work with some challenging issues, like how do you convince a government to treat drug users who've been treated like the rubbish of society as patients who can become productive citizens of a nation. So now I'm happy to say that there is no more detention when you're a drug user in Malaysia. You are treated as a patient, you are treated at the Cure and Care. CCRC here is a Cure and Care Rehabilitation Center. You get access to psychiatrists. You can come and go as you please. There are no security guards. We also did this piece of work with the Southern Thailand government. And a few other governments around the world. Because it's one of those things that, you know, when you want to create change in society, and this is maybe a message to remind myself to, you've got to find the people who are going to support you in that journey. We found those champions. Find yours if you want to take on a big cause like that, yeah? It was only actually 2 individuals that made this change happen. But if it weren't for those 2 individuals, we wouldn't have, no matter how many, you know, iterations we did in terms of designing how this was going to happen, if it weren't for those 2 individuals who actually had a personal ambition to get a promotion, yeah? But if it weren't for that, the change nationwide wouldn't have happened. So I urge you to find these people. They can be sometimes there for some very selfish reasons, but ultimately, if it's going to deliver a big impact in society, it's okay. And it's for that same reason that we work with everybody. We don't come with a kind of prejudgment of, okay, well, this person is not going to help me do this. We believe that there is the ability in everybody to create change, positive change in society, regardless of what the purpose is that they set out with in the first place. We do a lot of this sort of like types of engagements to find these individuals in society. Scope Group, which is the social enterprise that I started as the little system that was kind of, you know, working with the other bigger systems. We're primarily a social innovation and design firm, but we're also a connector of people and ideas. And we help people discover their purpose and their capacity to create change in society. So we work with companies, we find the individuals, we always find the individuals. We don't find the brands, we find the persons. So we work with companies, and we have some pretty big multinationals that we serve who try and connect with communities in a way that they can create impact, but it's also going to make sense for the financial bottom line, yeah? We work with NGOs, we work with governments, We work with investors, supporters. We work with everybody. Like I said earlier, we don't really judge about what they're already doing. When we first started working with the National Anti-Drugs Agency in Malaysia, nobody wanted to work with them because all they were doing was arresting drug addicts and throwing them into detention centers. But we still worked with them. And we believe that in your own journey as change makers creating change in society, work with everybody. Inspire people to do good. This is one of the projects that one of the co-founders of Impact Hub and Scope Group, Christopher Eriksson, started 16 years ago in Denmark with a group of friends. It's called the Human Library. It's a library where the books are human beings. And you read the book by engaging in conversations. It's now in 70+ countries around the world. And anybody can do and start a human library. So this is one example of how when you face, because the book titles represent those who are most marginalized in society, the person living with HIV/AIDS, the former death row prisoner, the transgender. These are people whom society have seen as, are not one of us. But these are the very people who are the human books in all the human libraries around the world. We even have an ex-terrorist in one of the human books in London. Okay? But these conversations with these people matter because it's what's going to connect you to them in a different way. You empathize differently when you really, truly step into the shoes of these people by engaging in conversation with them. We try and encourage through our incubator programs for people to step up and solve challenges themselves and become entrepreneurs. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur, but that's okay. You don't have to be a social entrepreneur to create change in society. Remember coming back to that thing I said, work with everybody. They could be in government and they could create large-scale change. They could be in the corporate sector and do the same. So we run this incubator for those who want to become their own bosses. That's what entrepreneurs are, right? They want to become their own bosses. And we've incubated to date 35 different organizations. And this is ongoing. And we've also found, through the years, we've been doing this for about 10 years. Through the years, having that physical space that connects people is so important. And it's for that reason that I'm so delighted to hear that here in Bangkok, you have these spaces. It's so important to connect physically and have a space that is safe for you to experiment and to meet each other, make new friendships, and create projects together. So we started Impact Hub in Kuala Lumpur about 1.5 years ago. And we'll be so looking forward to having an Impact Hub in Bangkok if anyone's interested. One thing, though, that we've kind of learned through all this sort of engaging with people across countries, we also run this program. It's basically it's an impact accelerator, but it's also a person accelerator, because we invite fellows from around the world to come to Malaysia and work specifically for 4 months on a particular challenge. So this was last year's program. We had 44 fellows. We just welcomed about 3 weeks ago the next batch, 50 new fellows from 26 countries. And they work very specifically on addressing specific challenges that Malaysia faces, with the idea that these innovations will then become open innovations that anybody around the world can use. So you can find out more information about VIP and all that. One thing we have learned, though, in kind of doing these programs that connect people across countries, and this is a challenge that we're going to run again this year. In fact, I think we worked with Madi last year for this in Thailand. It's ASEAN Impact Challenge. This year, the challenge theme is going to be on finding innovations for urban impact. Last year was on building resilient communities and nations. One thing we have found through all this sort of activities, these are all just activities, really what's important is having that platform, having the program, having the space, curating that to happen so that people have somewhere to go, they have somewhere to meet, they have somewhere to get inspired, they know who to go to if they wanted to actually do the same. So I invite you to do that for yourselves in whatever work that you do, and to connect with us, connect with others who are like-minded and like-hearted, because together you'll be able to do what you want to do in this world to make it a better place. So before we go, may I invite you all to rediscover your purpose with me. Can you turn to your neighbor and in the first instance, just ask your neighbor, what are they doing here? Why are you here? Please, indulge me. Just ask your neighbor, why are you here? Okay, thank you. If you don't have a neighbor, find one. Now, with that in mind, I want you to also pause for a second and ask yourselves, why are you here? I hope you will rediscover your purpose and make new friends now, hopefully. Thank you, everyone.